Marcus Crowick is a business coach, profit-first professional, and entrepreneur with over 40 years of experience helping business owners take control of their finances and build profitable, stress-free businesses. In this podcast, you'll get real-world strategies and practical insights to grow, increase profits, and create financial stability. Whether you're a tradie, a startup, or an established entrepreneur, Marcus's straightforward approach will help you build a thriving business. This is Business Unlocked.
Hello and welcome to another podcast of Business Unlocked, and I'm really pleased to have you here today. I've got two special guests with me today, people that are very important to me, and we've got an announcement to make, and we've got a giveaway at the end of the podcast, so stay tuned for that. Also, whilst we're going to be doing a bit of talking, introducing them along the way, each of them has some messages for us about how to make sure your business improves, so stay tuned for that. So first of all, now we had her on last week and she's come back again for this special announcement today. I'd like to introduce you to Nadia Venditti. Now, Nadia, as I told you last week, she's been in business before, ran a manufacturing business. She's also had a bookkeeping business. She's a registered BAS agent, and she joins us again today, now into business mentoring and money mentoring. Welcome, Nadia.
Hi, Marcus.
Lovely to have you back. And Felicity Matthews, who's with us here today. Now, Felicity, years ago, was, I'll get into trouble for making it sound too old if I say it like that. Well, in a former life, still bad. She was a nurse, so coming through with all the specifics and technicalities that goes along with nursing, and about 15 years ago, just coming up to that, she went into bookkeeping. So again, she's a registered BAS agent and my go-to person when it comes to checking out clients' files and giving me advice about how they work, if they're working, and what are the problems with it. So Felicity, welcome along today.
Thanks for having me, Marcus. Hi, Nadia.
Hey.
Now, the other thing is we're all Profit First professionals. So that's how we met. I joined Profit First a little bit over 5 years ago. Nadia, I think you're about the same, aren't you?
2020, yes.
Yeah. And Felicity?
2019, I think.
Yeah, okay. So she's the most experienced of us in Profit First. So we met in that. We're all in a group called Mastery. We went to a conference in Italy together, so got to know one another fairly well. And this year through talking, we were talking about it'd be great to do some things together. So the thing is, Business Unlocked is not just a podcast. Business Unlocked is actually Felicity, Nadia, and myself forming a new entity, a partnership called Business Unlocked, where we can work with you on your money mentoring, your business mentoring, and we have that specialty of fantastic BAS agency in there, looking after the books, making sure that your software is integrated together, doing all those things, finding the really hidden secrets in your numbers. So Nadia and Felicity, my partners, again, welcome along, Business Unlocked.
Thank you.
So we've been keeping it a secret for a while, and the podcast's not going to be about Business Unlocked and us, loving one another people. It is about getting them on so that they can share a particular message. Today, we don't have time for, going through all 373 problems that there might be in your business, but we're each going to have a turn at sharing, here's something to take away for your business to help it progress, whether it's a problem in your business now or something that is just going to help it progress. So that's what we're getting on to today. So Felicity said she didn't want to go first. Is that right, Felicity?
That is correct.
So we're going to come back to Nadia, business mentoring, money mentoring. What's that mean?
Okay, so I work with business owners who are brilliant, know what they do, but behind the scenes, they are often feeling stressed or ashamed about their money. I've seen firsthand how this affects business owners and how this affects the business as a whole and also their personal life. That's why I specialise in Profit First and simple strategies. So I help business owners move from chaos to clarity and lose that stress. My one thing that I always see with business owners is even if they're doing great, even if the money is there, they don't pay themselves. They still keep pouring money back into the business. That's their way of, they feel like they're helping their business grow, but in actual fact, they're actually not, because they're not taking that wage for themselves. So they really don't know if that business would grow without that money. So that's,
and is that businesses of all sizes you see that in?
Yeah, lots of different sizes. I mean, the smaller businesses obviously have less. So they feel the pinch more at home. But the larger businesses tend to do it. They just keep reinvesting in their business, which is fine. But I think the best, when I see clients like that, I tend to sort of get them to set up an account for that rather than using the money that they would normally take to do that.
Yeah. So it's making it, if they're going to reinvest, making it very clear that that's what they're doing with their money, not just taking money out, putting money back in.
Correct.
And they think that, let's say they're taking $1,500 a week, they think they're taking $1,500 a week, but when you work it out, they've taken $800.
Exactly, because they're reinvesting.
And they can't figure out what on earth's going on because I'm taking this money, but I can't survive. Is the business surviving when they're doing that, or is it struggling a bit sometimes?
It is struggling because they're using their own money to make it feel like it's all fine because, they're paying their bills on time, but it's not that they're really paying their bills on time. It's just that they're using their money to pay their bills. Okay,
so people are either not paying themselves or they're drawing some money out, not understanding what's going on. So what are some of the problems that come out when that's happening?
Well, some of the problems are that eventually you'll hit a brick wall and realise that there is no money even for yourself to take out. That can be an issue. And that's when the stress starts. That's when the business owners start questioning, why am I here? I can't even take my family out for a nice dinner when because I don't have the money. There's just all the stress, all the feelings, all the feeling ashamed, they just go through all the feels, really. And that's when they need the help to calm down, stop, and let's work with this.
So what's the fix or the step towards the fix of that?
Okay, so what I usually do is ask them we do a profit assessment first to make sure, to see what they have, what their income is. Sometimes the problem is that they're not even charging enough for the service that they're providing. And we see that probably 9 times out of 10. It is, whether it be the product or the service, they're not charging enough because they look at their market and say, I can't be the most expensive because I won't get the business. That's a mindset, but it's also an area that I'd say, like I said, 9 times out of 10, every business owner I work with has that mindset that they don't want to lose clients by increasing their prices.
Yeah, and I've talked about that on another podcast and made available to people the pricing profit matrix there. Just if I go back there, because I'll be talking about this a bit, it's a good example of it. When people say, I can't put my price up, that my reaction to that is, well, you can, because putting your price up is just a thing that you do.
Exactly.
Whether it works or not is another discussion. Yes. But you can do it. But I see that all the time where that belief system, there's that blockage there of I can't do this, I can't do that. And it's like, well, you can do all of those things if you want to. I mean, you can run over the Sydney Harbour Bridge naked. Doesn't mean that it's a good idea to go and do it or you won't get in trouble, but you can do it.
I've got an example from last week. A client rang me
of someone running over the Sydney Harbour Bridge naked?
About pricing. They had been sending out an assistant and not charging for this assistant because they didn't have the qualifications. And I said, but you're paying this person a wage and they're out there side by side with the principal and working alongside them, learning, but also helping. They are doing something and you should be charging. But how can we do that? So then the conversation started. So, and these are the little things, not little, but they turn out to be big, but these are the small things that you don't have to charge them out at the full price that you would be charging the principal, but you do charge them at a rate. So work out what their wages are, what they cost you, and maybe add something onto that if you're really uncomfortable with.
Well, you need to, otherwise it's an expense. And there'd be an argument there if you've got an apprentice in the ute with you, if we're talking about trades, and they're running backwards and forwards, say, to the ute or the van, they're actually saving you time.
Exactly.
So that 2-hour job now takes an hour and a half because they're doing all those little things. And people often forget that little thing, walking to the van and back, has taken you 5 minutes.
Yes.
You don't think it has, but it has. So there's
and that's as long as nobody stops you to have a chat. The business owner doesn't stop you to have a chat about something else that they need. So, yeah.
Yeah, so pricing is one of those big things you come across earlier.
Definitely. Also, as I said last week, the 1%, putting 1% of your income into another account, just 1% of whatever is in the bank account each week, each month, each fortnight, whenever you do your...
So what are the benefits of that? Because there's a what I'll call a logical benefit. You've got some money building up in there, and then there's a a mental benefit that comes from that as well? Can you talk about that?
The mental benefit is that if you leave it for 3 months, if you can easily do it and hold it for 3 months, at the end of the 3 months, you celebrate it. So you celebrate that you have whatever that amount is, whether it be $100 or $10,000, whatever it is. Use 50% if you have debt, reduce debt, and then the other 50% for yourself or in a vault account.
And I imagine if you're doing that, if you're putting some money away in an account and then at the end of 3 months, whether it's what might be considered a small amount or a large amount, you must be changing your thoughts about your business, from this is a crappy business to
I can do this.
I seem to be making some money. Like what are some of the results you see there from people?
Oh, some of the results are not
but mentally.
Mentally, they're just so excited. They said they didn't think that they could do this. They didn't think that they could have an account with some money and still be able to run their business and run their lives without that 1%. It's all it is, 1%. So it made no difference to them other than that excitement at the end of the 3 months.
And that's, in Profit First, what we say is finding that 1%, that's actually part of what you're going to help people do. It's not an invent it out of thin air. No. You're going to help them do that?
Exactly. So I help them find not just the 1%, a lot more than just 1%.
So how do you help people find that 1%?
So we run a profit assessment, and we tell them the good, the bad and the ugly, then work backwards from there. So again, we reverse engineer we work out what their goals are and we reverse engineer from there. So whether it be we need to increase prices, or sometimes we may not even need to increase prices, we just need to review expenses and reduce expenses.
And we're saying 1% because that's an easy start.
Correct.
It could be 5% or 10%.
Yeah, it could be whatever. Yeah, it can be whatever. I'm just saying 1% if you're not doing anything at all.
And we'll have to come back and do a fuller episode on how that turns into, it's not just money mentoring, but that's the foundation of business mentoring.
Yes.
Going forward?
Yes.
Yeah. And when you talk about the profit assessment, how's that different from running a profit and loss?
Oh, it's very different. It's two completely different things. So profit and loss is accounting. It's usually accrual. So the profit or the loss at the end of that piece of paper is for accounting purposes.
So the profit and loss, and it might be very necessary for the business, and it's run, and that's how you determine the amount of income tax you've got to pay, all of those sorts of things. The banks are going to need that when you're going off to look for some money, so that we're not saying that
it has its place.
Accounting principle stuff isn't necessary, but the profit assessment that you do from Profit First is going to tell them, here's the cash coming in, the cash coming out, here's what's really going on in your business from day to day, what you can put in your pocket.
Correct. And then when you do have that tax bill, you will have the funds in that tax account to pay the tax bill. Yes.
That's a nice idea. When you actually have to pay your tax is there. So the accountant's not saying, you don't have to pay that till next May, forget about it. You're actually making sure, as much as you can, helping the business build so that they're getting profit, you're putting some tax away, superannuation. Felicity might talk about that and the impacts there. So all these things are being managed, and you're having your bank accounts or your piggy banks are the storage place, and you're helping people work out how to do that so that when tax comes around, when superannuation comes around, when it comes time to have a Christmas party, there's no stress, the money is there.
That's right. And especially next year at the end of 2027, they're bringing in payday super. So I'll let Felicity talk on that. But it's definitely going.
I think she might talk about that.
Yeah.
So we've got so much to talk about in future podcasts, and I know that you love coming on the podcast to talk about them. We're going to do a lot more of that. Now, young Felicity.
Hello.
BAS agent.
Yep.
So bookkeeping, I just want to address that really quickly first, because people talk about bookkeeping and I say, well, there's different levels of bookkeeping and even BAS agent out there. Technically, I don't have to do much to go and become a BAS agent myself because of my experience, but I know you're rolling your eyes and going off to take a Valium when I say things like that. So just take us through this idea of bookkeeper, BAS agent, levels of some examples of what you actually do so that people understand.
So as a bookkeeper, you can be an employee and do. As an employee, you can do your business's books and you can talk to their ATO and do all that sort of stuff. If you're offering that service for a fee, you have to be a BAS agent. And the reason behind that is to the business is protected. So if you, as an employee, if you make a mistake, the business covers it. But as a BAS agent, if you make a mistake, the business is covered and they're not going to get in trouble. So if the BAS agent has claimed too much GST or lodged late or anything like that, the business owner isn't going to be the one in trouble for that, and they won't get fined. They're under the safe harbour provision. So as a business owner, if you are outsourcing your bookkeeping, please use a BAS agent, because then you are protected with the Australian Taxation Office.
A bookkeeper, the name comes from having somebody carrying out a clerical activity, literally writing in books into ledgers, I imagine, years ago, what happened in a business. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a double entry accounting. You spend money, it needs to be accounted somewhere else. So it's a whole, double entry system. It's seen as a data entry role. It's actually a lot more than that. We actually look at an expense and have to figure out, is it a business expense? And if so, where does it sit on your profit and loss, or whether it sits on your balance sheet? Insurances, for instance, that's not totally 100% GST. That needs to be spread out between a GST.
But now we've moved from that level of bookkeeper to BAS agent even.
Correct.
So a bookkeeper, if I'm using a bookkeeper in my business and they're called a bookkeeper, they don't have a BAS registration, that person has no legal right, ability to actually give you some advice about the business. They really meant to be a clerical role, isn't it? Enter that.
Correct. Enter it as you see. You cannot make any interpretation around it, and that's what the BAS service is classified as. So if your bookkeeper is offering you a service and is not registered, they're an unregistered agent, and you are not protected as a business owner.
Yes, and we've seen those people get into trouble, and it means that again, anyone can set up shop as a bookkeeper and call themselves a bookkeeper. You've got no idea whether they know what they're doing or not. And we're seeing,
there's a lot out there that don't know what they're doing.
And what we're seeing is a lot of issues with people using people from overseas, and they might have qualifications, but my understanding of that, it's a bit like some of the overseas qualifications with nursing. They're not recognised in Australia. They're not done to that level.
No.
I actually interviewed some engineers from another country to be a PA, and they told me they had engineering degrees, and I was saying, so you must be good at maths. And they were like, no, not good at maths. I don't understand how you can be an engineer and not be good at maths. Beyond the BAS agent, so the BAS agent can make decisions and inform you about GST liabilities. What sort of other things does a BAS agent inform you about? And
they can help you with your payroll. They can't. You've got to be careful with the award interpretation, but we can definitely run your payroll. We can organise your super. We can lodge a superannuation guarantee charge, which is when you've paid super late or you haven't paid super at all, you get penalised from the government, which doesn't sound great for the business owner, but business owners don't understand that if the super isn't paid on time, it is no longer a tax deduction to them. So if they've had $20,000 worth of super for the year and they haven't paid it on time, their taxable profit, which is what they pay tax on, is going to be $20,000 higher. So there's all this sort of information that business owners aren't aware of.
Yeah, I talked, I can't remember if it was a podcast last week or one of my posts about accounting software has become simple, so it seems as though all you have to do is go through and click OK. The accounting software has made it seem simple that you can process your payroll and click a button to lodge what you have to lodge with the government. What are the issues around that?
Super not being calculated on the correct pay items. So there might have an allowance. In the trades industry, there's an industry allowance. They're not calculating super on that, where super has to be calculated on that. So, but over time, you don't have to calculate super on it. So I've had clients where they haven't calculated super on an ordinary time earning, and then they've calculated super on something that's not. So it's actually costing the business money.
So we're back to that thing of, it might look simple that you can just, the software is apparently taking care of it all, but it's that rubbish in, rubbish out type
Correct.
idea. You're doing your best, but when you click the button, it's not right. So when you look at it, you're endeavouring with your level of knowledge to actually get it right. If they don't get it right, so we're saying if it's not paid, there are all sorts of things like that. They could end up with a bill that's no longer tax deductible and they weren't prepared for.
Correct. And they've got fines and penalties and interest on top of that.
Okay. In a way, you're preventing them from having...
I'm the gatekeeper.
Yeah, okay. And I know you work with a client of mine, and you also, from having you there, you were able to identify a saving that they could make that I didn't know about, and you looked at it and went, hang on, they're doing that. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I do. Fuel tax credits. A lot of businesses who are eligible for fuel tax credits don't realise that they can claim a fuel tax credit for some of the fuel that they purchase. A fuel tax credit is a credit from the government pays you back for like vehicles over a certain gross vehicle mass. They might be using fuel in machinery that doesn't have road use. So we can claim that depending on what the business use is and depending on the fuel, we can claim a credit back from the government in the BAS for the fuel that's used for those purposes.
So what I'm hearing there, that at your level, it's not just a matter of doing clerical work. You know how to use the software. You know what the rules are from the government. You know how to find things that the business owner might know about. So it's not just about bookkeeping. When you work with people, you actually help them save money, make money in the different things that you're doing. Is that right?
Yeah, and we also look at their business practices and streamline it as much as we possibly can. So if they're not using a, say, builder, is it using a quoting software, they're just using pen and paper, they're old school, they're not actually quoting properly. So we will look at a software that will help them with quoting, takeoffs, maintenance, whatever their business industry is. We look at ways to improve their time efficiency, which will then integrate with their accounting software. So we also take care of that cloud integration and make sure everything's mapped properly and make sure everything's coming across correctly.
Bookkeeping is really such a bad word for what you do nowadays. Bookkeeping is that historical clerical activity that took place. Being a registered BAS agent is another level of knowledge and responsibility that goes on top of that. Then you have your ability to look at how they can save some money, make some more money, including streamlining their business. Bookkeepers are really good at that. And that can be as simple as how do we get your invoices and receipts into your software to make sure that they're taken care of properly. But you also are pretty knowledgeable with other pieces of software, and ServiceMate would be one that people know, Arrowflow, those sorts of things to help people make sure that they're working properly and that they're being as efficient as they can in their business.
Well, even payment gateways, a lot of businesses don't realise, get paid when you're there. Use a payment gateway to get your money now.
And so that comes back to the Nadia thing of I can't do that, like ask people. It's like, well, that's what we deal with. So we can help you put the technical thing in place of how to make it happen, and we can help you with the scripts and how you deal with that with your customers to make sure that, yes, you can actually make that happen with your customers and get a good result. So there's a lot more there, again, from, bookkeeper through to you're a computer tech there at times.
What Felicity is, Marcus, to business owners, a trusted advisor. So forget the bookkeeping, she's beyond that. She's a trusted advisor.
And I hope that's what it is for all of us. And we all have our part that we play in advising you in particular areas. And it's all about what's the return on investment that you get from here. So when people are looking and they go, I can get it done cheaper, are you getting the same outcome? It's if you pay $50 and make $50, great. But if you pay $150 and make $150, isn't that better? How much you make is the important thing, not how much it costs. I talk about that. It probably comes up it's a good segue into what I talk about. That change a lot. We talk about working, part of the mentoring is also leadership and growth. How do you become a better leader in your business? And you've got to go through those levels. There's that ladder that you have to go up from being an apprentice, if we use the trades type model, an apprentice. But you're an apprentice in whichever industry you're in, you're having to learn. So you're going from being the apprentice to being the worker who actually carries out functions, and then you end up managing some people, but often that's at the level of managing the work they're doing. And then you've got to turn into somebody who leads people and helps them develop over time. And there's this change of thinking that has to go on with how you go about doing things along the way. I had a great example, actually, the person that Felicity was talking about with the fuel tax credits, which, I mean, that saved him thousands over the year, didn't it, Felicity?
Yes.
But one of the things for him, he was a small business, $300,000 when I started working with him. And within a year, we doubled it. But again, that's not the important thing. This, help me grow the business, because that can be done wrong. We've got to get the foundations in place. So we doubled the revenue, but more importantly, he had been divorced. He was with a new partner, renting a house, and he wanted to buy a house. So in doubling the business, what we also did was we set that goal. I sent him off to my local mortgage broker, who I trust, to find out where he was at now, where he had to get to in order to buy a house. I got him going around looking at the sort of houses. So we cleared up, what's the house that you want? Got him going around looking at places so he understood the market there. And we set the sites. And the sites were, he needed $70,000 in cash within the year to go and buy a house. We not only achieved that, but he also had a 3-week holiday in Bali along the way, employed some new people. He'd gone from hiring, people to help him on the day to actually putting a team in place and developing them as a team. But the big thing there was his mindset had to go from, I'm somebody who goes to work and does the job, to that visionary status of, I have a vision, a true vision, not one of these fanciful visions, and that depends who you are. But he had the true vision of the house, and then, getting an investment property down the track, employing a team, those things. And that, to me, is when we talk about leadership and growth, we've got to get that in place. And even when we do all the other logical things, if we don't move that part of the equation, people might remember, if they listened to my episode with Ignatius Mendonça recently, we talked about be, do, have, and said you can do all the things, we can fix all of this other stuff, but if you're not moving the needle on the B, if you're not moving from being an employee to a visionary somewhere along there and how that business operates, we're going to struggle. We'll get there eventually, but it'll take 3 times as long. So that's my story. A lot of what I love helping people with, and we've got to get over the foundations. So I
think businesses need to be able to make informed business decisions. Like, they need to be able to look at everything that they're doing, both financially and operationally, and make sure that they're making those informed decisions. And a lot of businesses don't have that. I don't want to say clarity, but they don't have a clear view of what's going on in their business.
So they've got to get the clarity. I mean, the real thing with good bookkeeping, you can take care of all of those other things, but you have the clarity in the books. Profit First gives you a different sort of clarity, which is like immediate, up to date, and it creates some mentalities, some behaviours.
Yeah.
Yes, Nadia, that's
Absolutely,
what it does.
It sure does, yeah.
I guess just being able to look at your bank account and knowing I have that money for that.
That's right.
Problem.
It's set aside. You've got to do it properly. I see people out there attempting to do it by themselves without the full understanding, and it's like,
I've seen that as well, and it just doesn't. It makes it does become hard work if you don't know what you're doing.
There's a lot more to it than just open some bank accounts and stick some money in it. All right, so I mentioned it up the front. You can go to our website, businessunlocked.com.au, and book a meeting in there, our Unlock Your Next Move meeting, and you can choose any one of those, and that's going to be a complimentary meeting for you, and we'll help you work out your 3 key priorities at the moment, whether that's in how to handle your money, leadership, growth, bookkeeping, whatever it happens to be. Pick one of us. Unlock Your Next Move meeting, 20 to 30 minutes with us as a free gift from us. We look forward to having you book in to do that.
And use
don't forget the code word.
Code word, yeah, exactly.
Code word, secret code word, podcast.
Yes.
You might get some other special gifts if you put in podcast so that we know that you've listened to the podcast. Yes, special code, podcast. Put that in there. Awesome. Thank you, my business partners at Business Unlocked, Nadia and Felicity, for being here today. And I'll get you both on other podcasts separately to dive a bit more deeper into specific areas and give people some great advice on how to improve their business. See you later.